Did you know tariffs just hit their highest level since 1933? And food prices aren't creeping up anymore, they're exploding, with some categories jumping nearly 40% in just a single month. This isn't a drill. When the economy buckles, it won't be Wall Street that feels it first. It'll be you at the grocery checkout. Economists are warning that we're sliding straight into stagflation, rising prices, fewer jobs, and shrinking paychecks. And trust me, the first domino to fall is your family's food supply. That's why today I'm going to reveal 6 absolutely critical foods you need to lock down before the shelves empty out. And wait until you hear number 4. It's not only affordable, it could keep your family fed for months when everything else is out of reach. Now before we get into the list, let me tell you something I learned last week that shook me. A grocery store manager down in Texas, can't name the chain, but you've definitely shopped there, told me their wholesale costs have jumped 22% in just 2 months, and that's before tariffs even kick in fully. According to Yale's Budget Lab, these new tariffs alone could add nearly 3% to inflation, but in certain food categories, we're looking at price spikes of 60% or more. Think about that. Some foods could double in cost almost overnight. Your pantry is ground zero in this economic storm. If you stock the right foods now, you won't just be saving money, you'll be insulating your family from the chaos everyone else is about to feel. I'm not talking about random panic buying. I'm talking about strategic survival level planning that works. Stick with me because I'll break down what to buy, how much to get, and even a clever storage hack most preppers completely miss. Let's start with food supply number 1. Rice and alternative grains. Rice is more than just a cheap filler, it's survival gold. Stored correctly, white rice can last for 3 decades. That's 30 years of food security sitting in a bucket in your basement. Meanwhile, the UN just confirmed that global cereal and corn supplies could start running dangerously low next year. And Ukraine, the world's wheat powerhouse, is still crippled by disruption. But here's the insider move. While everyone's fixated on wheat shortages, the smart play is alternative grains. Quinoa, barley, bulgur, millet. They're cheaper than ever and some even cook faster, saving fuel when energy costs skyrocket. Quinoa, for example, is a complete protein with all 9 essential amino acids. And bulgur wheat? It not only cooks in minutes, it's packed with fiber and nutrients that rice just can't match. Here's your action plan. Stock up at least 20 pounds of white rice per person, plus 10 pounds of alternative grains. Store them in food-grade buckets with Gamma Seal lids, and here's the hack. Drop a few bay leaves in each container. It naturally keeps insects away without chemicals. At today's prices, you're looking at about 6 cents per serving of rice. Even if food costs double, you'll still be eating for pennies while the rest of the country is forced to pay premium prices. Now let's move on to food supply number 2, canned protein. Let me be real with you. Fresh meat is turning into a luxury item, and it's happening faster than anyone expected. Ground beef is already pushing $6 a pound, and projections show prices climbing even higher. But here's the kicker. Livestock farming takes enormous amounts of feed, water, and fuel. When those costs explode, the price of steak or chicken at the grocery store goes through the roof. That's where canned proteins step in as the game changer. These aren't just backup rations, they're your safety net when meat becomes unaffordable or unavailable. I cracked open a 2-year-old can of salmon recently, and I swear it tasted better than some of the fresh fish I've picked up from the store. That's the power of shelf-stable protein. Here's the strategy I learned from a former military logistics expert. Canned chicken, versatile, works in hot meals or cold salads. Canned tuna, budget-friendly and loaded with omega-3s to keep your brain sharp under stress. Canned salmon, premium nutrition when fresh seafood is priced out of reach. Canned beef satisfies cravings when steaks are selling for luxury prices. Pro tip: always buy proteins packed in water, not oil. The liquid isn't just filler. It contains minerals and can even be used to cook rice or pasta, doubling its value. That's a trick survival teams used during Hurricane Katrina relief. Here's the cold truth. In every economic collapse, protein spikes first. Look back at Argentina in 2001. Meat prices jumped 400%, while canned proteins stayed relatively steady. That's history repeating itself. Right now, canned chicken is still under $3 a can, but I'm already seeing stores place limits, 6 cans per customer in some spots. That's your red flag that the squeeze has begun. Storage is simple. Keep canned proteins in a dry spot under 75 degrees, and they'll hold quality for years. Honestly, they often taste better than fresh meat that's been sitting in trucks for weeks before it reaches your fridge. Now let's move to food supply number 3. Cooking oils and fats. And trust me, this one's about to blow your mind. Most people don't realize this yet, but cooking oils are becoming one of the most valuable items you can stock. We've already seen sunflower oil jump nearly 50% in a single year, and that's just the beginning. Why? Because cooking oils aren't just for your frying pan anymore. Energy companies are ramping up biofuel production, and they're using the exact same oils that food producers need. That means your bottle of oil is now competing with the gas pump. When demand explodes like this, prices don't just rise, they skyrocket. Here's the survival strategy that works. Stick with oils that give you the longest shelf life and the most versatility. Refined coconut oil is king. It stays good for up to 5 years, has natural antimicrobial properties, and even solidifies at room temperature, so it won't leak all over your storage. Second place goes to avocado oil, which has the highest smoke point of any cooking oil. That means you can fry, bake, sauté, whatever you need with one oil. No wasting money on multiple types. Now let's talk storage. Most people make a big mistake by buying giant gallon jugs. Bad idea. Once you crack one open, oxygen starts breaking it down fast. Instead, buy smaller bottles. Not only does this keep your supply fresher, but small bottles become trade currency during a crisis. Imagine bartering a pint of oil for fresh produce when shelves are bare. That's real survival economics. Here's another angle most people miss. Oils aren't just cooking tools, they're survival calories. A single tablespoon packs 120 calories of pure energy. When you're doing hard physical work to keep your household running, those extra calories can literally keep you standing, and they're not just for eating. Coconut oil doubles as a natural antibiotic for cuts. Avocado oil can preserve leather gear, and both can even be used as fire starters, burning steadily for over 5 minutes. Pro tip: buy in bulk during warehouse sale. I grabbed a year's supply of coconut oil from Costco for less than grocery store prices. Even if costs rise just 25%, that one purchase saves me hundreds. Now let's move to food supply number 4. Dried beans and legumes, and this one might completely change the way you think about survival nutrition. If you think beans are just a boring prepper staple, think again. Properly stored beans aren't just food, they're a survival currency. I know someone who lived through Argentina's economic collapse in 2001, and he told me beans became more valuable than cash. Why? Because money was worthless, but everyone still needed protein to survive. He literally traded beans for medicine, tools, and even hired help with home repairs, all with bags of lentils. Here's what makes beans so powerful. They last for decades when stored correctly, they're incredibly cheap per serving, and they provide high-quality protein at a fraction of the price of meat or eggs. 1 cup of black beans gives you as much protein as 3 eggs but costs almost 90% less. And instead of expiring in weeks, they stay good for up to 30 years. That's not food, it's insurance. Now here's where most people go wrong. They treat all beans as the same. Big mistake. Different beans offer different advantages. Black beans packed with antioxidants to keep you healthy when medical care is limited. Lentils cook in under 20 minutes, saving precious fuel when energy is scarce. Chickpeas versatile for soups, stews, or even homemade hummus. Pinto beans, the ultimate all-rounder that works in almost any dish. Here's a storage hack I learned the hard way. Always transfer bulk beans into airtight containers with bay leaves right away. Those little leaves naturally repel weevils, and trust me, you don't want to lose 50 pounds of beans because you got lazy with storage. Been there, done that, never again. And here's the math that makes beans the smartest investment you can make right now. The dried bean market is expected to hit $10 billion by 2030. Prices are already climbing and could easily double in the next few years. That means a $50 investment in bulk beans today could feed your family for months, while saving you hundreds down the line. Quick bonus tip from a UC Davis food scientist: mix different beans in your stockpile. Not only does it keep your nutrition balanced, but it also prevents food fatigue. When you're eating from your pantry for weeks, variety keeps morale high. Now let's move on to food supply number 5. Salt and preservation supplies, an overlooked essential that could literally make or break your survival food plan. Let's be real, if you're eating plain beans and rice for weeks, morale is going to tank fast. That's where salt comes in. But don't make the mistake of thinking salt is just seasoning. Why? Salt is survival. Without it, your body literally cannot function. Here's what's happening that most people don't know. Extreme weather is cutting global salt production, while demand is skyrocketing, especially from chemical industries. Add to that the fact that the U.S. imports a quarter of its salt, and you've got a recipe for serious supply problems if trade gets disrupted. Now for the kicker. You can buy a 50-pound bag of salt for less than 25. That's pennies for something that can outlast you, your kids, and even your grandkids, if stored right. Moisture is the only thing that can ruin salt, so use airtight containers, or better yet, food-grade buckets, with Gamma Seal lids. Trust me, it's a small investment that protects one of your most valuable supplies. But here's where salt gets really exciting. It's more than just food flavoring. Salt is one of the oldest preservation tools in human history. Before electricity, salt was the original refrigerator. People cured meat, preserved vegetables, and kept fish edible for months using nothing but salt. In a crisis when your fridge goes dark, that knowledge could mean the difference between eating your protein or watching it rot. Here's a bonus survival hack. Start experimenting with salt preservation now. Try curing some salmon, making sauerkraut, or even preserving your own jerky. These aren't just old-fashioned skills, they're future-proof strategies when grocery store shelves run dry. And let's not forget the economics. Salt has been used as currency for thousands of years. The word salary literally comes from Roman soldiers being paid in salt. Think about that. In a collapse scenario where cash is worthless, your salt stash could suddenly become a tradable asset for medicine, fuel, or tools. Bottom line, salt isn't just about taste, it's about survival, preservation, and barter power. If you don't have it in your stockpile, you're missing one of the cheapest, most effective survival tools ever invented. Next up, we're diving into food supply number 6, honey and natural sweeteners, and trust me, this one will absolutely blow your mind. The survival food that never spoils and only gets more valuable as time goes on. Most people think of honey as just a sweetener, but in reality, it's one of the most powerful survival tools you can keep in your pantry. Think about it, honey never expires. Archaeologists have found jars of honey in ancient Egyptian tombs that were still perfectly edible thousands of years later. That makes it the ultimate backup food. But honey's value goes way beyond taste. In survival situations, it doubles as medicine. For centuries, people have used honey to heal burns, disinfect wounds, and calm sore throats. Modern hospitals even use specialized honey to fight infections that antibiotics can't touch. So while others might overlook it, honey could literally save your life in an emergency. And here's the kicker, honey isn't just for storage, it's also for strategy. It's calorie-dense, easy to digest, and delivers instant energy when you're stressed, tired, or running on empty. Unlike processed sugars, the natural glucose and fructose in honey hit your bloodstream quickly, giving you the mental clarity and focus you need when every decision counts. Another advantage, honey becomes a powerful barter item during economic collapse. It's universally recognized, tied to health, culture, and even religion, which makes it something people will trade for when cash loses its meaning. Imagine swapping a jar of honey for supplies you desperately need. That's how valuable it becomes. Here's a simple storage tip. Always keep your honey in glass jars, not plastic. If it crystallizes, don't throw it out, just warm it gently, and it'll go right back to liquid gold. Pure honey crystallizes naturally, and that's actually proof it's the real deal. Now here's a thought that should light a fire under you. Bee populations worldwide are shrinking fast. Less bees means less honey, which means skyrocketing prices ahead. Stocking up now isn't just smart, it could turn into one of the best investments you've ever made, one you can actually eat. The bottom line, honey isn't candy, it's survival insurance. It fuels your body, heals your wounds, preserves your food, and holds trade value when everything else fails. In a world that feels more unstable by the day, honey is one of the few things that actually gets better with age.